Hello everyone, you're listening to The Right Side of Gaming. Today we're going to be going over how to build an Orzhov or white-black deck in Magic Legends. Again, our standard disclaimer for this series. This is aimed at newer players who maybe don't know what all is out there or how to get started. So we're going to be focusing on commons and uncommons. I will mention some of the rare stuff later. Gear and artifacts may be mentioned in passing, but the idea is to focus on stuff that new players are likely going to have or be able to get fairly easily. Some of your more established players probably already have a lot of these cards and then some, and probably already have an idea of how they want to build their deck. They're starting to take into account artifacts and gear more. That's fine. This is, again, aimed more at the newer players. To start with, if there's something that white and black both do well, it's gaining life. This is true in the card game, and it's true in Magic Legends. To start with, we have a lot of life gain creatures. White has cards like Phantom Prowler, Fiendslayer Paladin, Angel of Vengeance. Black has Darksworn Cleric, Cabal Knight, and also has some effects that you can give lifelink to some of your creatures, like Unholy Boon and Blood Pact. So if you're not aware, lifelink just says whenever your creature is dealing damage, you're going to heal for some of that damage. We also have a pretty fair amount of just straight up healing spells. White has Spirit Offering to make your little healing wells, or of Salvation to heal yourself and nearby allies, Healing Recall to heal yourself and your creatures, Judgment, that's a favorite of mine because it's going to deal damage and do healing. So it's great crowd control and great sustain. Restorative Boon, which is going to heal you whenever you cast a sorcery. Black has Vicious Hunger, which is sort of like a single target lifesteal. You're going to deal damage and heal yourself for the damage you dealt. And Leech Outbreak, which is a really good sort of lifesteal effect because this one is going to be in an AoE. It's going to be dealing damage over time, and you're going to be healing for a good chunk of that. And as you can see, we have a lot of options in black and white just for gaining life and keeping yourself alive. The trick is going to be determining how many of those effects you want to put in your deck. You can go, full life gain. That's absolutely a thing, especially if you are doing a lot of group play and you're going to be sort of like a main healer, keeping yourself and your allies up. But a lot of times, you still want to be able to slip in, some more damaging effects into your deck, which is a good idea. And you're gonna have to balance out like, okay, how much healing do I want? How much other things do I want, like damage, utility? And that's sort of a balance that you're just gonna have to decide for yourself based on your own play style, what you have available, and just what you like. Now let's say you want to lean into the black side a little bit more. One of Black's strengths is sacrificing creatures. It has a lot of effects that trigger when a creature is sacrificed or when a creature dies. Like Riding Fentusker gets a buff for 10 seconds whenever a creature you control dies. And whenever you summon it, you're going to sacrifice a creature you control. So right off the bat, you're getting a sacrifice effect and a buff on the Riding Fentusker. We got Desecrate, which is going to create a hazard. So you're going to have sort of an AoE damage over time effect. But you're also going to sacrifice a creature you control to give it a immediate damage. So you're going to have that immediate damage if you have, a creature to sacrifice, and then there's going to be the damage over time effect. Voracious Thrull is going to pull creatures towards itself, and then it actually has an activated ability, which I don't think is on here, that you can sacrifice it. Grim Revival is going to let you resurrect a creature you control with the biggest combined power and toughness, and then if you don't have any dead creatures, if you just draw it at the beginning, you're going to create a couple of skeleton tokens instead. But it's a great way, especially if you're doing sacrifice and you're really focusing on those bigger creatures, to bring one of them back. White also has a little bit of sacrifice potential. It has Faithful Geist that will let you sacrifice it as an activated ability. So if you have it on the field and you draw into Faithful Geist again, you can sacrifice it. And whenever it dies, it's going to give you and your creatures a shield. So it's a damage mitigation effect. Kind of like you have healing, you also have shields. They all sort of get lumped into that category. Now, once you start getting some rarer creatures, you have things like Corpse Fiend, which is going to get buffed whenever a creature you control dies, and if you get enough of them dying while it's out on the field, you can create little hazards that are going to deal damage over time. You have Abyssal Fiend that's going to make you sacrifice your creature with the highest combined power and toughness. So if you're going for big creatures, this is a great one to put in there, because then you get your big creature dying and buffing Abyssal Fiend. So you have an angel that's like 5/6, you like really pumps it up. And then you can bring it back with your Grim Revival, so you can still keep those big beefy creatures. You've also got Annihilation, which is going to make you sacrifice all of your creatures, and it's going to deal damage based on their combined damage in addition to its sort of base damage. So the more creatures you have, or the bigger the creatures you have, basically the more power you have on the field, the more damage it's going to do. And then finally, you have Divine Reclaimer in white, which is also going to give you a resurrect ability. And then if you don't have any creatures to resurrect, it's going to heal you instead. But you have a lot of options to do really big creatures that you can sacrifice for effect in black. But if you want to have a little bit more of a wide approach to it, you can make a bunch of smaller creatures to sacrifice. You might remember from yesterday, we have a lot of cards like Crusader of Odric, who gets buffed based on how many creatures you control. Knowledge Archers, that summons a couple creatures. Knowledge Marshal, that buffs creatures. Black has Scathe Zombies, so they're going to be able to pop out multiple creatures with a single spell as well. Got cards like Drudge Skeleton and Bone Tip Archer that either have or can gain Regenerate, which means they can die, you can sacrifice them, whatever, and they will come back. And then once you get into rare cards, you've got things like Gruesome Reanimator, which is occasionally going to create 1/1 skeleton tokens. And then you have your Glorious Anthem and Zealous Charge type effects to buff up your creatures, as well as Dread Overseer in black. That's going to give the zombies you control +1/-1. So you have a lot of options here in black and white. With sacrifice, you can go big, you can go small and wide. You can make it work and just have a lot of fun summoning creatures, sacrificing creatures, and then bringing them back, buffing them, whatever. You've got sort of a lot to play around with there. And again, you can sort of mix some of this up with some of the healing effects. Something like Angel of Vengeance. If you want to go big, you're getting both a big creature as well as lifelink. I mean, you've got a lot to work with over here. You can slip in some of your healing abilities. Unholy Boon. It's going to give one of your creatures regenerate and lifelink, so it's going to res them. You're going to get some life back. And it has the potential to just completely kill off one of your cards for one of those die effects just because it's at -2. So you have room to mix and match potentially like all three of these. But that's the things that I see a lot of in white and black. It's your healing and life gain effects, and then your sacrifice and reanimation. And that's all I had for today. If you guys want to leave a like, comment, subscribe, especially if you want to leave a comment about how you built your white-black deck for some of the other new players, that would be great. And if you don't want to leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever, that's fine too. I understand. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.